Okay. Okay. Is this better? Let me know. Let me know when you can start to hear me.
Up more. Up more.
Up more? Turn it up more. Is that better? Is this any better? Maybe I need to hold the mic really close to my. Good. Okay, well, I'm Alicia, and I'm with Nebraska Savvy Seniors Empowerment Seminars, and I thank everybody for coming here today, and we're going to have a really great seminar today, and it's titled Love Where You Live, and we're going to talk about how to make where you're living now the place that you love and a place where you can age in place. And it's not so much about maybe staying in the home that you're in, but staying at a home where that suits your needs. And we did have a little change in the schedule today. We did have Doug Barentinos from MedBright, who's a certified aging in place specialist, was going to be on our panel today, but he called in sick this morning. So our own AJ Fulbright with Lucky Dog is going to fill in for him. So we need to take it easy on AJ when it comes to the questions today. We'll be really nice to you. So some of the questions that we had intended for Doug, she may or may not be able to answer them fully, but she's going to give it her best shot. And she has Lucky Dog Property Services, and she does a lot of home modifications. So I think she'll be doing pretty well in here. So I just want to introduce our panelists that we have here today. First, we have Tanya Godwin here, and Tanya is the Territory Manager with OASIS here in Lincoln. Tanya's been with OASIS Senior Advisor since May of 2017. Serving as a Senior Advisor prior to 2017, she offered client support in an elder law estate planning firm after serving more than a decade as a Senior Legislative aide for the state of Nebraska legislature. And Tanya is a Doane University alum, mother of 5, mother-in-law to 2, grandmother of 3, and a wife to just one. Just one. You had to power down somewhere. That's a good place. And what led Tanya to OASIS Senior Advisors was their core set of principles: respect for dignity, confidentiality, and serving others ethically. Providing an honest and impartial provision of qualified senior care options is the only option she believes in. And Tanya often speaks of a sign on her desk that reads, "Remember your why, the driver for your purpose, humility, and goals." After 8 years with Senior Advisors, this compassion and dedication to enhancing the seniors' lives as well as that of their families remains to be her why. Thanks for coming. And next we have Natalia Page. Natalia is a Lincoln native. She began her career in healthcare and spent nearly a decade in radiology before transitioning into financial advising. Her interest in retirement planning and investment was sparked in 2015 when her mother suffered a traumatic brain injury in Poland. And navigating that long-term care system firsthand opened Natalia's eyes to the critical need for thoughtful financial planning, especially around health events and longevity. And after her husband's separation from the military in 2020, her family returned to Lincoln just before the onset of the pandemic. Natalia now dedicates her practice to helping individuals and families plan with purpose, empowering them to face their future with confidence and ensuring they don't outlive their money. Outside the office, Natalia enjoys camping with her husband and daughter and has a soft spot for adopting senior dogs wherever she can. So this puppy here today may go home with her. We don't watch her closely, right? And then we have Val Heedham. And Val is with Caring Friends of Lincoln. She's local to Lincoln, and she has a varied background in respiratory therapy and senior care services. She has more than 20 years experience in the medical field, and including equipment, skilled nursing care, hospital, home health, and home care and hospice. She believes in advocating for your needs and is now helping her parents actually navigate assisted living and changes in their needs as well. So she's actually lived it, so she's be a great source of information for us. And then we have AJ Fulbright, and AJ is with Lucky Dog Property Solutions, and we share our first name and our middle name. And so I've gotten to know AJ over the last few years, and she does a lot of great home improvements, and she's a handy man. And she does, I know she works with a lot of our seniors and a lot of my clients, helping them get their house prepared and making some modifications in their homes and making it more comfortable for them. So we appreciate you standing in at the last minute and giving us your all here today. Let's see, a couple of housekeeping things. There's one restroom and it's right out here in the hall. So if you need to use that, that's where it's at. We want to thank Doug and the whole staff of St. Mark's for their hospitality here today, and the coffee and the cookies. The red, white, and blue M&Ms are a great touch today. So thanks for all that. And I want to thank you all for coming today, and I want to thank our panelists as well. The Nebraska Savvy Seniors started out of just a need for information and education that wasn't built upon mining tactics or somebody trying to sell you something, and we just felt like this really needs to be a place where you can come and you can be comfortable and you can ask some of those questions without fear or having to worry about, gosh, is this just going to be a sales pitch? Nobody here today is going to sell you something. This is not a networking event. This is strictly an educational service that we're providing you for free, that we want you to feel totally comfortable and okay with asking questions and learning about different things that are important to you today. On your table, you'll see some little cards that say register, please. If you didn't get to register at the registration table, if your address is changed, if we don't have your email, if something has changed on your registration, please fill that out so we have current information. And then we have a couple of special events coming up. Our educational partners are going to start giving workshops, and those workshops will be smaller groups, and we can actually drill down and get some more specific information and talk to you in a smaller setting about some topics that are important to you, because not maybe everybody's downsizing, and maybe everybody isn't ready to make their estate plans or a legacy kit. But for those of you who do and want to do that, we are going to start offering these workshops. The next one that we have planned is called Right Size Without Regrets, and how to avoid the 5 biggest mistakes when you're right sizing. And so that one will be July 23rd. So if you're interested in that, pick up a flyer. There is a flyer on your table about it. Please register because seating is limited for these. And then we have something fun coming up for everybody, which is Friday, September 19th. And that's on this flyer. There's more of these flyers too in the front. But we're going to have a fun game night. And we're just going to come, we're going to have some snacks. You can bring a friend, you can bring your favorite snack if you want to. We'll provide coffee and pop. If you want to bring another beverage, you're welcome to do that. And we're just going to play games and play pitch. Does anybody like to play pitch? That's my game. Okay. There's my pitch players. We'll be at separate tables. But we'll have games and some trivia and some fun things too. So just come out and have a fun evening with us. So we're going to go ahead now, and we're going to start our questions with our panel. And love where you will live, and the smart financial moves for aging in place. And Doug was going to talk a lot about some of the things that you can do ahead of time in order to prepare your home for aging in place that don't cost very much money and that can save you money in the long run. And so AJ is going to kind of fill in that part there. So. Does everybody have a mic, and so I'll be asking you questions, you can kind of pass it around. And does anybody have anything that they would like to share before we get started? Just kind of give them a background.
You want us to do a little background?
Yeah.
Everybody hear me okay? I just wanted to share that I appreciate you all coming, and I want it to be more informational, and I want you to ask questions. Feel free to ask your own questions of things that you're dealing with. Sometimes the things we're talking about might be adjacent to something you're dealing with, but please feel free. This is very interactive, and I think we all learn something from each other.
Please don't ask me any questions. I am very much a planner, so this is giving me high anxiety. Being up here, not knowing the answers, and doing research before I get up here. So, yeah, that's what I got.
Good morning, everyone. I'm the first one to know that our finances are a very personal part of our lives, and sometimes it feels a little bit taboo or sensitive to talk about these topics. So I encourage everyone to ask the questions that your neighbor is probably thinking of as well. And this is a safe space, and we want to educate our senior community as best as we can as we go into those years where we are living off of the investments that we've worked so hard to build, Social Security, making sure that we're aware of the changes that are happening, and just setting ourselves up for the best possible outcome.
And I'm gonna piggyback right off of that because planning is key. A lot of the things that we talk about with aging are scary and uncomfortable, but the sooner that we talk about them, the easier it will be. So I think we're gonna cover a lot of that territory today, and I do believe that with the information we're able to provide, we're really gonna ease some of that stress, concern, fears, confusion. I think that'll be key.
Okay, great. Well, I'm just gonna dig right in here. I'm gonna start with you, Natalia, since you're the new kid on the block here today. What is the biggest financial mistake you see people make when planning for aging?
I think the biggest financial mistake is really not having a plan and addressing what sources of income you are going to have in retirement, especially. So as I mentioned beforehand, when we talk about aging in place, we're typically talking to people that have retired. So most of these, most of our clients are going from a point in their life where they were earning income, and now they are getting to a point where they have to live off of fixed income and off of those sources. So sitting down with someone and addressing what sources you do have and making sure you understand what the next 5 years is gonna look like, what are the next 10 years are gonna look like. It's very hard for us to guess what the future might be, but we have to do the best job we can with the information that we do have from our clients to try to make that transition as easy as possible. So I would definitely say not having a plan is one of the bigger ones. I would also say one of the biggest ones that I see is people taking general financial advice, maybe from an online influencer or a TV personality, things of that nature. I think that is very hard to transition into a personalized financial plan for a specific person. Some of this financial advice that people do give online, they're not licensed financial advisors. They're not able to advise on your personal situation. With finance being such a personal decision, personal topic, the general advice can work for some, but certainly can't work for everyone. So I very much encourage people to have that in-depth conversation. It can be a little bit painful, it can be a little bit awkward, but finding someone that you can trust to have those open and honest conversations with is going to ease all of those fears that you have and make sure that you do have a plan going forward.
Great. Okay. Val, what are the different types of in-home care services that are available today for somebody who may want to age in place and may need some of those in the future?
In-home care is kind of categorized in three ways: personal care, housekeeping, and companion care. So personal care, you could consider something about how you go about what you do to get ready for the day, taking a shower, getting dressed, taking your medications, things you do for your own personal self. Housekeeping and home care are things that you do for your home, vacuuming, dusting, cleaning the bathroom, cleaning the kitchen, doing the dishes, that kind of thing. And then companion care is the fun stuff like game night, the prom, the things that you enjoy doing for fun, social, conversations. If somebody's cleaning your home and taking care of helping you, don't you want to get to know them a little bit and hang out and socialize? So those are the three categories. Some people might describe them as assisted living at home, but I did bring a little handout, and it is discussing activities of daily living, so I thought this would be very informational. So I guess if somebody would like to hand these out at some point, or if you'd like to come up and get one, this is really what people use to identify what your needs are when you're doing home care or assisted living. These are the things you do on a daily basis, so when you start needing help with those things, that's what home care does, and that's what assisted living can help with too.
Great, thank you. Well, Tanya, even if we are planning on aging at home and we don't need these services, and maybe later down the road we do, and what are some of the warning signs that you see that might mean that a senior is no longer safe staying in their home?
What we see when we are sitting down and talking with families is we're asking the question of what brought you to the table here today. Most of the time it's an issue with they're mixing up meds, they're not taking meds. I've had situations where someone was taking the pet's meds and giving the pet their meds. So obviously very dangerous, very concerning. Another big thing that rises to the top is falls. And when the house is set up in such a way that life becomes so difficult that they're living in maybe 2 rooms of their house. The laundry is downstairs, they can't get down there safely. So you will see those things decline. Bringing in that home care, companion care is huge. When it gets to a point that it exceeds what they are able to provide on that medical care level side, that's when we need to have a different kind of conversation, meaning that we're no longer safe aging in place. We need to look at our other options.
Great. Well, AJ, the question I have for you is, you probably get calls and people wanting to do different things around their house. What are the top three home modification things that you see people requesting or needing?
Yeah, I think, with the falls is kind of the main first thing that people think about. So we have a lot of requests for ramps, stairwell handrails, grab bars, things like that in the shower and upstairs and things like that. So kind of just trying to avoid those falls and giving you some tools to, get around the home safely is one of the main things that we look into.
Okay, great. Natalia, I'm going to go back to you. What should people budget for as they plan to age in place? And should they budget? Should they put something into their budget for some of these repairs or home care? And how do they do that?
Absolutely. I'm a big budget person, and when we talk about retirement planning in particular with our clients, we make them sit down and we do a budget. I think this is hugely important to know what we're spending every single month, where extra money could come from if we need to do home repairs, even going on vacations, things like that. So I'm a big believer of budgeting, really no matter where you are in your financial plan, but certainly once you get to a point where we are living off of fixed income and our investments that we've built up. So in terms of what else should be budgeted for when aging in place, additional healthcare needs, that's a big one that we see. So if people, again, are having home health come in, things of that nature, we need to be able to budget for those. Those are services that are not free. And so that is something that we need to include in the budget. Some things that people sometimes forget about if the mortgage is paid off, to make sure we're addressing homeowners insurance, property taxes. If you live in Lancaster County, we've all felt the brunt of those, right? So those are things that we need to make sure that we keep addressing as well. Things such as mowing the lawn, snow removal, things like that. If you don't live in an HOA neighborhood, those may be on your payroll to divvy out to someone else in the neighborhood, kiddo across the street, things like that. So those are things that I would definitely make sure to include in the budget. Inflation is a huge concern as of right now. Groceries are sky high, so that's something that we also need to be mindful of as we work towards budgeting and just making sure that we are able to live comfortably off of what we've determined is a good withdrawal method for all of our sources of income.
And Val, how do we know, like if we're a spouse, how do we know our spouse might need some help, or if we have aging parents, what are some signs that they may need some help? Or if you're a neighbor or a friend, what are some signs we need to look for that says, I think you might need some help?
Well, I'll tell a personal story on this. This is regarding my parents. And for a long time, I had been worried and trying to plan ahead and asking, but there's a sense of pride. I don't need help, I got this. And it came to a point where one of my friends, who is a respiratory therapist, had seen my dad and mom in for an appointment and had a little bit of concerns about their clothes. They had a food on their clothes. This is a true story, so I'll be being vulnerable with you all. And she called me and said, your dad's appointment went really well, but I'm a little worried about your parents. And she told me a few things about what she had noticed, and it was a wake-up call for me as an objective observer of how they were doing, that I needed to step in and probably assert myself more. And it feels really awkward as a daughter to do that to your parents, I'm going to be honest. I care about them. I want them to have dignity. And so I stepped in and I asked caring friends to help do some home care services for my parents. So what we had noticed with them was my mom's vision was declining. She couldn't see that there were things on the floor. So for example, on their floor, they had a little stain in the carpet, and she thought that was like a tissue. She went to pick it up, and I said, Mom, that's the carpet. She couldn't see it. She couldn't bend down and clean the bathtub. She had a little knee pad like you do in the garden, and she tried to use that, but she just can't see. Her body was not able to bend down and do those things. My dad was mixing up his medicines a little bit. He needed some reminders to continue to take them. and just some help with laundry and things like that to help keep their apartment clean, their kitchen, their bathroom. Those things, they were declining, and I could see that, and I just had to assert myself. So those were examples. We do hear a lot about housekeeping services, people asking for help with that. That's something that gets challenging when you're older. But when it's time is when you start seeing a change, a decline. They're struggling with certain things they never struggled with before. You start thinking maybe it's time, maybe it's time. It's always good to ask ahead and have a plan. I guess that's kind of the theme for today, but those are the examples I could share.
Oh, great, that is a really good example. Well, Tanya, what do families sometimes maybe overlook when you think, well, maybe they are beyond just needing a little bit of care at home? What's something that you might overlook when deciding or delaying to moving to a senior community?
Absolutely. We talk about our woo. You are within, at some point in this process, a window of opportunity. Whether that is you as a family, it's your loved one. Cognitively, they are still able to participate in the conversation, to understand their options, and to relate to you what they prefer, what they like, what they don't like. There is a line in the sand when that window of opportunity closes, and you no longer have the choices that you had a moment ago. And so we want to be very delicate and be very conscious and be very careful about staying within that window of opportunity and not waiting until we no longer have those choices. The big piece is financial. Right now, if that individual is set up where budget-wise they could do assisted living or some other level of care, it would make more sense to start that process now than it would to spend down at home, because if you spend down at home, all of those options that you would have had, you no longer have, because people think, well, I'm just gonna go on Medicaid, and Medicaid will take care of me, and then I'll just go into that community that's up the street. That community that's up the street is all private pay. There is no Medicaid, or it has a 2-year or 3-year private pay period that you would have to complete before you can transition onto Medicaid. So we educate heavily on all of that and really encourage everybody to, let's take action while we're in that window of opportunity. Let's not wait until we no longer have that choice.
So can you tell us what happens? What happens when you run out of money and you're in one of these places and you private pay for the 3 years? Do they just kick you out? What happens?
No, they do not, and it blows people's minds because they come at it thinking, okay, the minute that I run out of money, they are going to pack my bags and they're going to put me on the curb. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So when we're having that conversation with families and we're understanding whether that's having their financial advisor at the table and understanding what you're working with financially, we can set them up for success, something that's within reach and sustainable. So if they go to a community that has a 2-year private pay requirement and they are able to, budget-wise with resources, satisfy that private pay requirement, what we do in the education piece is we tell them, speak with the director of that community. Talk with your executive director or administrator or whoever it is that's kind of running the joint, right? Tell them about a year in advance approximately that, hey, I'm gonna start doing my spend down now. I will approximately be looking at Medicaid around so-and-so and such. What they will do is they will work with you and plan ahead so that you can transition to what they call a Medicaid bed. I don't love that, but you would be able to stay. So it's all about just communicate. But they want you to stay. They do not want you to leave, and they will not kick you out.
Well, that's good to know. Okay. All right, so AJ, why is it important that you see people make some of these changes? Maybe get a ramp, even if it's a temporary ramp, and have it available, or put in some of those grab bars, or widen the doors. Why is it important to maybe make some of those changes before a crisis happens?
Well, I don't think anybody likes to be in crisis mode. I mean, especially when your health and things like that are on the line. The main thing that I see, I get a lot of phone calls from people that are asking to build a whole ramp in like a week because their wife is coming home next week from the hospital after a fall that they didn't, expect and things like that. So just having the control of who you get to hire at that point, the price of it, having a budget, being like that, not so much being backed into a corner because you're up against a time clock because, something's happened and you hadn't expected it. So getting ahead of it a little bit is always better, for all of those options.
And I would think if you plan ahead, you can get bids and find out who's gonna be the best, who's gonna have the best quality of work and for the best money.
Yep.
Rather than at the last minute, you just gamble who you get.
Absolutely, yeah. If you need somebody next week, it's gonna be a little hard to sell
Yeah.
to get somebody that you like.
And lots of times in real estate, what we find is we're trying to get someone to do the repairs and do this at the last minute. And lots of times those contractors that have extra time, they have extra time for a reason. Sometimes it's because they might not be the best in the field. So just FYI there. Val, can you tell us what's the average cost of some of the services that people have in their home?
So for the cost of the services, we bill on an hourly rate. A lot of our different providers are in the mid-30s on up. So it depends on how long your shift is, what time of the day it is, if it's a weekend or a holiday. There are different rates for those. Sometimes for longer shifts, they are decreased in price or offer a reduced price. But we're gonna talk about payer sources at some point too, but we'll touch on that. But that's kind of what you expect for the cost of payers for home care services.
Okay, great. And Natalia, do you have some tools? You talked about budgeting and planning ahead. Are there some tools or online calculators or things that can help people to do that, or some forms or something that they can use?
I personally think your financial advisor planner is your best calculator for anything of this nature. A budget sheet is probably easy enough to find online. Just make sure you are accounting for all of your expenses, not just a good chunk of them. So we're not surprised by bigger bills that are maybe semi-annual or things like that. The financial calculators that you can find online, they don't account for a lot of things like when are you actually going to retire, how much your Social Security is going to be every single month. Inflation, I've mentioned that. They don't really account for inflation and making sure that we can cover the cost of more expensive things later on. So again, it's one of those things where online calculators are great for maybe quick references and quick sources, but to really get down into the weeds with the planner and make sure that we're addressing, tax management, if there's a long-term care situation, if our expenses are going from $3,000 a month to $10,000, how do we address that? Those calculators will usually not do any justice to your personal situation. It's just as I mentioned before, it is your right to sell your home. It is your right to represent yourself in court. It is your right to do your own financial planning. But is that in your best interest? It might not be. And if it's not, that's when I would encourage people to really sit down with a person that they trust. I think AI is not going to be one of those things that takes over financial advising. I think people would prefer to be with a real life person that can show empathy for situations and really understand, that every year is different, every month is different with finances. And that's what we need to focus on with our clients.
Good. Tanya, what do you see as some of the biggest risk of staying in a home too long without the proper care and supervision?
It's back to that window of opportunity. So, true case. Daughter calls, mom is in the hospital, we have to discharge, she's not safe to go home. And as we're having this conversation, I'm learning that mom not only has completely out of control diabetes, but she has undiagnosed, unmanaged dementia. And it was just too hard for the family to just grasp that, so they just kind of looked the other way, and I get that. I mean, we're humans. So now we have to find a place for her. But we haven't talked about this, and we haven't planned this, and we haven't financially planned for this. Where are we going to go? Because we have until Thursday to make this happen. You usually have a week to figure it out. When that case manager or discharge planner tells you, we have a discharge date, Medicare has said, we're done. So if we've already done this on the forefront, we're good. In the case of my gal who was in the hospital though, what happened was because of her dementia, she would sundown towards the end of the day so bad, and the hospital doesn't know what to do with that. And I love our doctors and our nurses and our care managers. They are not trained for dementia in the hospital. So what they would do is they would heavily sedate her and restrain her in her bed because she was trying to just wander and just be out and about. So that's not dignified, that's not appropriate, and that's not what you want for your person or for you. It's a question that we ask, especially with cognitive decline. Your person, as you knew them back in the day, would they be okay with this right now? Would they be okay knowing that they were walking down the hallway in their underwear? Would they be okay knowing that they were walking outside with not appropriate clothing? Would they be okay with the lack of hygiene or whatever that is? If the answer is no, then we need to have a different conversation because we need to maintain that individual's dignity. And with our gal who had dementia really bad, we did assisted living for a little bit, but with the lack of diabetic management and the lack of management of that dementia, physiologically she just had wound care and all of the things, and she ended up right back in the hospital. So she's probably gonna bounce around for a while, and she's going to end up in more of like a nursing home just because of her high level of care needs. That's the stuff that breaks my heart because it didn't have to be that way. We could have maybe come in 6 months ago and her life just would look completely different.
Okay, yeah, that's word to life. Yeah, sure.
I will share a true story that just happened a few weeks ago. I had a friend from high school reach out to me. His mom was in a hospital, emaciated with lack of, she hadn't been eating, she was not taking care of herself, and she's starting to have onset of dementia. And he called me in a panic and he said, I don't know what's gonna happen. She's discharging in a few days. These are the nursing facilities I can pick from. I don't know which one's the best, and you know this industry better than I do. Tell me who I should go with. And it matters where you go. It matters the quality of care. And I think that's what your window of opportunity speaks to, is if he had potentially intervened a little sooner with her dementia, he could have potentially helped her find a place, have a little more time on his hands, and make a more educated decision with the help of an organization like Oasis that can tell you a little bit about the facilities before you go into that panic mode. And you have very little time to deal with, so I just want to share that as well.
Yes, yeah, that's a good point. AJ, what do you think is probably one of the most affordable safety upgrades that might have the biggest impact in a home that you see that you're doing?
I would say that there's probably a couple of them. Getting your doorways open and, you know, without boxes and, you know, plants and things like that, that would kind of be my first, you know, free option for getting that kind of stuff open so that you're not tripping and, you know, having issues and things like that. Another one would be light bulbs, actually. As you were saying about, you know, not being able to see very well, there's a lot of, weirdly enough, there's like a massive amount of light bulb technology out there that can really brighten things up. I mean, it might not, you know, it might make the way your like colors on your walls look and things like that, but it gives you an option as far as, you know, being able to brighten up your space in your bathroom and kitchen and things like that, so you can kind of see a little bit more and not have, you know, some of those minor issues like that.
What about some stairways that don't usually, like stairways or, you know, closets and walk-in closets that don't have a lot of light? Is there an option there other than rewiring your whole house?
No, actually they have sensor lights now that are all battery operated, which are kind of cool. So if you have a closet that you pop into, that light will see that you're there and it'll turn on automatically. So there's no switch, there's no wiring, nothing like that. It's either battery or probably rechargeable or something like that too. So there are a lot of options that don't necessarily require an electrician to come in and break open walls and things like that as well. So
Oh, good. That's a little bit cheaper option then, good.
yeah.
So Val, getting back to you, you were talking about pay for in-home care. Is this all private pay? Do you have to pay out of your pocket, or how do people afford this if they don't have any money?
We have three categories, I guess, of payment. Private pay is cash payment. Some people do have long-term care insurance policies, and they do help either pay us directly or they'll reimburse the individual if they have a policy that covers our services. And then we have VA. The VA has some aid in attendance or some home care services that they can allow and approve It is, has to be authorized, and we get an authorization directly from the VA. So if you are a veteran or you know a veteran, it is very important to get proactive with them because it takes some time to get approved. You can reach out to your provider if you have one at the VA and tell them what your needs are. But you do have paperwork sometimes to fill out, so that takes a little bit of time. And then there's a third category, Medicaid waiver. And that is something where Medicaid individuals who have an economic need for Medicaid services can also be approved for Medicaid waiver, which is a different category than Medicaid. That's Medicaid services. Medicaid waiver is activities of daily living, like I talked about earlier. So if you live in your home and you need some assistance with bathing, grooming, making the meals, keeping your house up, those type of activities, then Medicaid waiver can be approved, but we also get authorizations for those as well. Those individuals have usually a caseworker that help them navigate that, and then we get directly approached by their Medicaid waiver provider and get authorization from them.
Yes, and Aging Partners do have people who are willing and ready to help you fill out some of those medical waivers?
Medicaid waiver.
Yeah, okay. So you mentioned home care and home health care. How are those two things different?
So home health is a skilled service. You have nursing, physical therapy, speech therapy, home health aides, occupational therapy. Those are ordered services by a physician or a medical provider. They come into your home and help you with rehabilitation type things, cognitive rehabilitation. They're medical providers, okay? And they have to be ordered, and they're usually paid for by your medical insurance. Home care is non-medical, so it complements the home health side. You might hear them interchanged accidentally, home health, home care. They sound very, very close, but home care is non-medical, sometimes called private duty services. So for example, if your speech therapist is coming to help you with, let's say, swallowing issues, or physical therapist is helping you with your hip surgery and rehabilitation for that service, they're not going to stay and do your dishes. They're not going to help you with your laundry. They're not going to help you. Home health aides will help you with your shower, but the other skilled services will not. And they only come intermittently throughout the week on scheduled days, where home care services can come upon your schedule, what you need, what you like. So they complement each other and they can be used at the same time.
Just one more question that kind of is still along that line. What do you see as the most commonly needed services that you provide?
A lot of times when we're here, we hear this question. I hear this a lot. Maybe Kim, you can echo. We hear people wanting help with home cleaning services that are challenging. We hear that almost every time we're here. And then somebody might say, I have a surgery coming up and I'm worried about showering, I have a shoulder surgery or I'm having knee surgery. What services can I expect? So we generally recommend, and I'm skipping ahead to another question you have, but a couple weeks in advance is a really great time to start working on a plan, educating yourself on what services are out there, what they cost, and then maybe doing an evaluation. That's part of our service. So we come out to your home and we talk with you about your direct needs, what your expectations are, what your needs are, and then we try to schedule that in advance so that you're ready. Once your surgery is over, you have a plan.
Okay, great. Natalia, we're going to change gears just a second here, a little bit different direction. What are some key documents that you feel people need to have, or some steps for those documents in place to be prepared for some of these healthcare costs or aging in place?
Definitely wills, power of attorneys, trust documents, if you have those available. I would make sure that those are, first of all, done and or updated. If it's been 20 plus years since you've revisited your will or power of attorney, I would certainly take a moment to revisit that with an attorney. The power of attorney especially is, these are people that are going to be making medical and financial decisions for you if you are unable to do so. So that may change over time. If there's been a divorce or death of a spouse, that person may no longer be the one that's making those medical decisions for you. So I highly recommend that those documents are in place. Something that I like to set up with all of my clients is, we call it a life folio packet, but it is a place for you to put all of your basically professionals that you work with, your lawyer, CPA, financial advisor, and then a place for you to put all of your assets, where everything is at, where your long-term care policies are, if you have life insurance policies, who is the carrier for that. That way, God forbid something does happen, we're not sending kids or spouses on a wild goose chase to make sure that they can find all of those types of documents. But the power of attorney and the will would be the most important one, I would say, right off the bat. As Alicia mentioned, my mom had a traumatic brain injury when she was visiting family in Poland. She was in a coma for 3 weeks, and she had not had any will or power of attorney done. So we were guessing from across the pond, so to speak, on what to do with her. And thankfully she did wake up, but she woke up in a very diminished cognitive capacity. We were miraculously able to fly her back to the United States, and she has been at Madonna Long-Term Care ever since. But since we did not have that discussion with her prior to that, we don't really know what her wants are. We don't know what she wants medically done. She may be able to voice a few of those to us, but as of right now, we don't know, like Tanya was mentioning, when she was healthy, what she would have wanted if something like this had happened. So I highly encourage those conversations to make sure that those are being had with loved ones, with children, with attorneys, and then making sure that there's documentation, legal documentation that you can fall back on.
How many are here that have aging parents? Do we have anybody here that have aging parents? Okay. Oh, well, look at that. Okay. So, it's time to have maybe those talks with some of the families, but some of us are in still denial that we're getting older. But I do have a really good flyer out there on how to start the conversation with your parents and do it delicately. But do you have any other tips for starting those conversations, any of you? I mean, you don't just say, okay, come on, sit down, we're gonna have a talk, or what do you do?
Be empathetic. We're going through this with my in-laws, and they're not in a position where we are making these decisions about downsizing or right-sizing or moving into assisted living, but they're healthy, they're able to voice their concerns to us, and again, the financial part is hard for them to speak to us about because I'm their daughter-in-law, but it is so important for them to know, that they're gonna be okay, and we want to know that they're gonna be okay. I want to maintain my relationship with my father and my in-laws as that relationship, as a daughter and a daughter-in-law. I don't necessarily want to step in for the financial piece or for the medical power of attorney piece if that's not what they want. But if an emergency situation comes up and I'm the best one to make those decisions, I'll be appointed to do that. And then that puts strain on the relationship. So again, having those conversations where you're really emphasizing that I want to make sure you're taken care of. I want to make sure that you're safe in your home. I want to make sure that you know what's going to happen to you medically. God forbid you end up on a ventilator, you fall, you break a hip. We need to have those conversations, but do it delicately with empathy. I think people will respond well to that versus, yes, just sitting down with them and saying, show me your books, show me where you're at right now, and then we'll figure out from there.
And get back to the pain for that part. Oh, did you have a question?
I do. I'm sorry, I don't have any. My parents are dead, my in-laws are dead, but how do I take care of talking to my kids?
That's a great question. If you haven't talked to them at all yet, and you're just worried about approaching the conversation, it can be as simple as sitting down with them and just saying, this is the stage of life I'm in, and I do think it's important for us to have this conversation, so if something does happen, you know what my wishes are. And I would love if my in-laws would approach me about that conversation versus me trying to approach them. So
You
I.
help with that, though?
What's that for?
You help with that, to get the kids to come, you help with that?
I sure can, if that is what's most comfortable, and if I can, I don't wanna say I'm a good tension breaker by any means, but if that's something I can kind of have out in the open and maybe be a little bit of a moderator and just say, the reason why we're here together is because we do have someone that's aging in place or considering downsizing or maybe moving into assisted living. There's a lot of things for us to talk about financially or safety-wise. This does need to be a family conversation, and sometimes I am involved in that family discussion because I've been so integrated with the financial part of their lives. And so I am happy to have those conversations and be brought in.
Okay, do you have something to add?
Just real quick, just wanted to add, I can break the tension because I'll just make a silly joke or some sort of sarcastic remark, right? So, but we can come to the table because we want to talk about okay, who is your financial advisor? Who is currently providing that home care? Who are those individuals? And be able to just send that invite out to those adult children and say, hi, I'm Tanya with Oasis Senior Advisors. I've met your mom, I've been visiting with her. There are some things that we've been just investigating, and I would love to have you at the table. Let's join the conversation, etc. and so forth, right? And just start it out that way in a very non-threatening.
As somebody with parents that are, in their late 70s, a lot of us are waiting for you guys to have a conversation and bring it up to us as well. Both sets of my parents already came to me, and we've already had the discussion. But the day that they came to me and asked me was a real big day of relief for me, because they approached me and asked me, and then we've got, other people involved in the conversation as well, that we needed. But a lot of times, they're waiting for you to have that conversation, they're waiting for you to come to them.
Did everybody hear that? The comment he was making was, as a child of a aging parent, we're waiting on them to invite us into the conversation. And I'll share another real story. This just happened. I had a birthday over the weekend, and my mother-in-law came down to have breakfast with us, and she'd been dropping hints. I have a book for you, to my husband. I have a book for you. My husband said, Mom, I feel awkward asking you these questions. Do you want to talk about it? And she said, well, yes. We sat in our driveway, and she said, do you want to know how much money I have? And she said it. I feel better now, she said. And he goes, well, okay then, so I'm happy you feel better. But she's been timid about it, and he was timid about it, and it is awkward. I had this conversation with my parents too. We dropped hints till the day came when we had to really dig in. My dad had a car accident in March. He ended up in the hospital in the ICU, ended up in skilled nursing, and now is in assisted living. But we had to dig in and find all those papers. I am his power of attorney. I'm his medical power of attorney as well. And having all that stuff in an organized place would have been excellent. But it is a process. It takes a long time to untangle. But it is awkward to have that conversation. But if you don't do it, it's going to be worse. So I think you just have to go there.
Yes, that's true. So we do hear a lot of different reasons for some of this hesitation. One more question, and then we're going to take a quick break. Okay, Deanna?
The difference between power of attorney and medical power of attorney, and if it's two different people, how do those roles play out?
Well, I'm the same for my parents, but the way I understand it, and if somebody else wants to answer this as well, I invite that, is I'm making medical decisions for them on their behalf if the medical power of attorney comes into play for something they can't answer or can't handle. But financially, I'm the power of attorney for financial decisions. So that's the way I decide it. Financial power of attorney is the one side, and then the medical power of attorney is about medical decisions. That's the way I understand it. And if I didn't answer that right, please somebody.
If you want to add something, Tanya.
Yeah, just real quick. There is a lot of confusion. I run into it all the time, where there is a line in the sand. There's medical power of attorney. So your estate plan consists of your last will and testament, a living will, financial power of attorney, and medical power of attorney, if you have the complete package, right? So if you are medical power of attorney, you can't really be hanging out at the bank and getting all the information and writing the checks and such. So that's a whole different thing. We do educate on that piece. One of the big things that we run into as far as like a barrier, speed bump, hurdle, is that people are like, well, I have power of attorney.
Mm-hmm.
That document is just a placeholder. Until that is invoked, it doesn't do anything. So you may be appointed as that attorney, in fact, but until, as stated in that document, a medical professional determines that you or she or he are no longer able to make decisions that are in their best interest, it doesn't have any movement. You're not in the driver's seat yet. So we just are careful in that conversation, and as we navigate that and help with invoking those power of attorneys as well.
Does power of attorney supersede medical power of attorney? I mean, can they make a decision beyond or above? Like if medical power, my siblings,
So
different.
a medical power of attorney cannot make other decisions. A power of attorney over everything can make everything and medical decisions. Is that
Okay,
correct?
so we have two power of attorney, right? So you're either financial or you are the healthcare piece. A lot of parents just said you're both, right? The best thing I've seen parents do, and I talk to our estate planning attorneys, I'm like, I would love it if you would do this with everybody, is if there are siblings, could you please write that power of attorney to say and/or, as long as everybody's getting along, Because, and they, not always.
That's not funny, it's
Not always. But if it says and/or and everybody's loving each other, it's great because if for some reason they can't get a hold of someone, they live out of state, whatever is going on, that other sibling or whoever it is can jump into that driver's seat and let's get going on whatever it is that we're needing at that time.
So Alicia, I heard you say that power of attorney can supersede medical power of attorney. Is that, did I hear you correctly? No? Okay.
There's just,
Medical
yeah,
power of
just the
attorney.
two.
Okay.
Yeah,
They just
financial-
sounded conflicting.
Yeah,
Thank you.
financial or healthcare.
What was your question?
Okay, I'm, from your last statement, I understand that you need a medical person to designate that that individual, let's just say me, can no longer make decisions for myself. So is this a statement from the doctor?
Right, that's a great question. So in that power of attorney document, when you read through, if it's written correctly, not all of them are perfect, but it would say that when one or more medical professionals deem that I am no longer able to make decisions in my best interest, therefore I appoint my attorney in fact to be XYZ. So I lost track. So in answering your question, how that works is you're either in a hospital or you've been seeing your doctor or you have some sort of assessment, something somewhere on a medical level where that physician or physicians go, okay, she is no longer able to make decisions that are in her best interest. It could be because of a TBI, a traumatic brain injury. It could be because of a dementia Alzheimer's diagnosis, a stroke, something along those lines. And they will put it in your chart. They will have it in writing. It will be on like a letterhead with their signature. We encourage those power of attorney individuals to get that, have it in your hand with a copy of that document so that when you're going to the bank, if you are the financial person, it's proof that this power of attorney has been invoked, or on the medical side, you've got that in hand. Yeah, does that
And
help?
we have a seminar
So it
coming
will
up
take-
about wills and trust and all that kind of stuff that we can dig a little bit deeper into
So it
that.
will take a medical person to, for example, I'm the parent, okay? So the child needs a medical person's statement to implement both the financial power of attorney as well as the medical.
So no one else really can determine if you are cognitively no longer able to make decisions. Like we don't want, like my financial advisor, he's a great guy, but I don't want him determining if I am or am not able to make decisions that are in my best interest. So obviously that would fall into that medical realm because that really is the only individual that can do like a cognitive assessment or something else has medically intervened that you are no longer able to, whether permanently or temporarily, make those decisions.
Medical or financial.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. One more
I'll
thing.
add one quick thing. I am the power of attorney for my parents. They are still participating in their care, but we are collaborative on what their needs are. And it really gives me the key to unlock opportunities to help them, for example, with a long-term care policy, to help submit a claim for their services. So it really gives me access to help them with things they can't physically go do very easily. So going to the bank, helping do a withdrawal, things like that, that's helping. So they're not cognitively, disabled from doing things. I'm just able to help them with things as the power of attorney.
So
If that helps.
did you have to have a medical person tell you that?
No.
So that does work.
So what her question was, did I have to have a medical person tell me if my mom and dad were unable to make their own decisions? They are still able to make their own decisions. There are some dementia or cognitive decline, but they are still participating. I'm there to help be a guardrail for them and help make sure they're doing things that are, in the lines of what's appropriate for them financially speaking. But I'm given permission to go into their bank account or help them file insurance claims, things like that. But no one deemed them in.
So how is that different from what you said?
So right now, her parents, everybody's getting along, right? Everybody's communicating, it's all good. Those power of attorneys, if I'm hearing, there's no cognitive assessment that has determined that either of her parents are no longer able to make
Correct.
decisions. There might be a diagnosis, but that doesn't mean that they're not cognitive at this point. They might be early on in that journey, whatever that might look like. What I've run into is we are in the hospital, we have mid to advanced level dementia that is undiagnosed, unmanaged. There was no power of attorney put in place there was no assessment, and now that's a whole different ball of wax, because now we have to go get a guardianship. And that is expensive, and it is time consuming, and it's through the courts. So it is much easier to get a doctor's letter from whether that's in the hospital or from, ongoing dementia maintenance, whatever that might be. Does that help answer that question? When everybody's getting along, that power of attorney, it's great because, obviously the banker, there's been communication. Val can ask the questions and get into the account and write the checks. But when that individual can no longer make those calls or communicate that, what do we do if we don't have a document that says this person can step in for me? Does that help? Okay.
Okay, let's take just a real quick, 3-minute break and come right back. Show of hands, how many people are thinking about, or how many people have actually started making some modifications in their home for aging in place? Has anybody actually started doing that?
Yeah.
How many of you are just thinking about maybe making some modifications to your home? Okay. And how many of you don't think you need any kind of modifications ever in your home?
That's large.
Okay, so now we know where we are. Well, that's what we're going to talk about next here with AJ. The first question is going to be for you. What would you say are the common mistakes that you see when people make modifications to their home? And these could be do-it-yourself projects or projects that other contractors have done. Do you see any kind of big mistakes that kind of stick out?
You skipped the question I was prepared for.
We can do that one next.
DIY is all kind of relative, right? Like if you know where studs are, then that's kind of the basic thought process between any kind of grab bars or handrails or anything like that. Maybe if you don't have a good stud finder and you try to put handrail fasteners in there, it's not going to quite work out real well. So DIY is kind of one of those things. It just depends on who you have around you and who you have to support and help you with those types of things.
So grab bars are a big thing.
Yeah.
Are those the kind that stick onto your shower? Are those good to use?
Yeah, I don't really trust those very well. Suction cups. Yeah, as soon as they don't work is when you really need them, right? So the showers are probably one of the higher requested repairs for the grab bars. And they're also one of the more difficult because you just don't have a really good way of finding the studs. If you have something behind the bathroom where you can really get a hold and add some backing to put some really, really solid grab bars, that's going to be the best option. But if you're, drilling into tile, like if you have a tile surrounded shower or something, then it gets a little bit more difficult getting good grabs. There are some products out there. Moen makes a really, really nice grab bar that has anchors, kind of designed into it. And so it's kind of a multi-process sort of a situation, but I've had really, really good luck with those. And then, just grab bars around your house. In front of the stool, in the bathroom, next to the shower as well is a really common option. Had a guy in a chair that needed one to kind of go around the rooms into the hallway, so we found a really good spot there as well. So, mistakes, just the general, right? If you try to, fix some flooring or something like that, and it doesn't quite get fastened down, those types of things, just kind of being aware of those little
Yeah, that
things.
would be a big thing, especially with falls being a big reason that you get in trouble. What question were you more prepared for, AJ?
I was prepared for the assessing the current home.
Okay,
That's
so
it.
how can someone assess their current aging in place and readiness? What would your tips be?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. I think that there's a lot of resources in the community. I mean, all of these folks had already kind of chatted that they can come in and kind of take a look and see, you know, some of the options that they've seen in the past. I have a lot of people, if they're asking me to do grab bars in a shower, I always ask if there's like a physical therapist involved. They're gonna be able to say, you know, how high they want it, how close to the door, where it needs to be. So I usually kind of refer to physical therapists because they understand how bodies work and how your body specifically moves. And, you know, if you have something, you know, if you've, you know, broken an arm, they'll know to put it on the left side instead of the right, and those types of things. So, you know, physical therapists are always kind of my go-to as well. A lot of the safety concerns, I'm gonna do a shameless plug. My husband's a home inspector, and so he can kind of come in, home inspectors can come in and give you an idea of what safety-wise you need to kind of look at and those types of things as well. So, you know, do you have enough CO detectors in your home or smoke detectors in your home? You know, different kind of steps. If you have like, you know, sometimes on steps they have those really like big bull-nosed edges, and they can, you know, get in the way when you're trying to pull your foot up and things like that. So they can kind of look at it a little bit more logistically and give you an idea if there's something that they see.
Okay, great. Val, I have a question for you. You're talking about people coming into your home and different people providing different services. How do you plan and how do you get a care team together? And who should all be on that care team? And find people that you can trust.
Trust, huge. That's huge. Who's coming into your home? Who do you trust? Do you want them there? Do you enjoy them? Caring Friends and most every single home care company that I know of does background checks on all their employees that come into their home. And we do references on all of our employees, so that's the first step for us. We also want to make sure we know, like, and trust them. I think we all feel that way. Somebody's going to come into your home, you want to feel that way. We make sure it's a good fit. So Kim over here in the corner is our site coordinator here in Lincoln, and Kim makes sure that our caregivers that are coming into your home align with somebody that you enjoy having. So if it's somebody that doesn't quite fit the bill for you, we have other caregivers that we can introduce you to, but we want to make sure that you're comfortable with that because it's such a personal thing, having someone in your home. We want to make sure people fit the expectations we have as well. So we hold people accountable. You set the example, you let them know what the expectations are, and then you follow up with them. So if they aren't meeting their needs in one of those categories, then they're not a good fit for us either.
And what should people look for in that first evaluation when you're talking with people? What are some questions that they should ask people who are going to be providing care?
We'll be honest with your needs and what you're looking for, and we'll answer you honestly and let you know what we have capabilities for. We even collaborate with other home care companies if we can't fit the entire need. So a 24/7 type case, somebody who needs someone to monitor them that often, or even certain evenings and weekends and things that we can potentially do, we can collaborate and we can supplement the needs of other home care companies and vice versa. Kim and I visited with an individual who we interviewed for one of our commercials, and Cheryl was her name, and Cheryl said, you know, what I really liked was Kim's personality. I enjoyed her, I trusted her, we got along really well, and I think it has to be a good fit. The other thing I would encourage you to do is if you're looking at services like this, pay attention to the communication you receive. A lot of the individuals that come to our services have been frustrated for one reason or another, but primarily it was for communication. If somebody couldn't come for one reason or another to do the shift that they had, they never knew. They were wondering, is anyone ever going to come? No one ever called and said, oh, they had a car accident, or they have a sick child, or something happened, or we're planning a vacation. They just didn't hear. And so they got frustrated, and then they ended up reaching out to us, and then we provide that service. But communication is key. Being vulnerable, being honest, letting them know what you prefer, what you don't prefer.
Is there, and this is kind of, it's not a scripted question here, but is there like a clearinghouse or someplace that people can go to check out people who might be providing care for in their home, or where they can report if they have not such great care in their home?
I think you could definitely report. I think every single individual that we employ, the state of Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services has requirements. There are certain things you cannot employ somebody with different backgrounds, some criminal related things that is against the Department of Health and Human Services. You would lose your privileges to be using them as a payer or provider. I definitely think you could definitely look, but there's a national provider registry, so all of our caregivers are now registered providers, and that is a new thing as of June of this year. Every single home care provider has to have an NPI number, and there is a lookup. You can do a lookup for that as well.
Okay, good. Natalia, what do you say to someone who thinks it's too late? I should have planned 20 years ago. It's just too late for me. I'm just gonna, play it by ear and see how it goes. What do you say to those people?
Well, hindsight is 20/20, so it's easy for us to all, at some point in our life, to look back and say, I should have done X, Y, and Z and the other thing. So it's normal to think that, but I also want to say that that's not necessarily true. We have helped plenty of people well into their 70s address their current financial plan. And we've made changes based on what we've seen either their other advisors do, or just thoughts that they've had, or changes in their life that we can now accommodate because we have a little bit more information about the situation. So I highly encourage that thought process to not be existent. I know it's hard to think about, that it is not too late, but really if you work with someone that is empathetic to the situation and can really bring to the table a very, I don't want to say simplified approach, but that can explain things well, that can show you exactly where your assets are, what your current living situation is, and build off of that, there is no reason that it's too late for you to develop a plan. As I mentioned, we've had people well into their 70s approach us, and they had done some planning beforehand, but not a whole lot. But because of them being worried about their situation and not thinking that they have enough money to do whatever, that was their cue to come see us and have that conversation. And we may not be able to give them the moon and the stars at that point with what they want in retirement. We've been able to develop a plan that's going to keep them in their home, that's going to keep them living the lifestyle that they want to live, and not have to worry about running out of money.
Okay. So when people are aging in place at home and they kind of start thinking, this isn't going to be as easy as I thought it was going to be, what do you recommend, Tanya, as a timeline for when they should actually start maybe checking out some different senior living communities and see how they fit? How would you counsel people for that?
Absolutely. So people are surprised about how quickly that could be accomplished. Obviously, in an emergency situation, the landscape looks a little different. But in a non-emergency situation, you've hopefully got all the time in the world, hopefully. So I have someone that I'm working with right now that her lease isn't up until August. She's not in a crisis situation. We hope nothing happens between now and then. And so she's just taking her time. She's just looking at a place or two every week and planning on, okay, once I decide where I want to go, I'll do the paperwork, I'll figure out, who's going to come in and help me organize and downsize, help me do the physical move. She's got that luxury of time to just move forward at her own pace, and there's a beauty in that, in not having to be on some sort of like a deadline with a discharge date and operating in crisis mode. So the sooner the better, because you are able to set your own pace, and that might look like, hers, which is two places a week. That's all I want to see.
And it can be rather fun. Once you find out a couple of different places that you want to go to, they'll start inviting you to some of their events that they have. And you can attend these events, and you can talk to some of the residents there. You can see how they like it. You can see, what kind of food they serve, how well they're actually taking care of their residents. And that can be a really fun thing to do.
I agree, and we encourage that. If you have that luxury of time, we encourage you to test drive, kick the tires, go to the lunches, go to the events, go to the activities. There might be some people there that you already know, or you'll just meet new friends you hadn't met yet, right? So definitely you want to do that test drive and check everything out, especially the food.
Well, AJ, maybe you can help us with this question, and maybe you can't. But we'll find out, right? What kind of remodeling features or floor plans should someone look for when they're deciding, maybe this house isn't the one for me, and I'm going to right size or get something a little bit different, so that we can age in place and actually, it might accommodate our needs more? What are some things they should look for?
Ground level living is the main obvious one, I think. Being able to drive into a garage and just walking right into the house instead of a couple of steps kind of alleviates a lot of those issues, with falling and tripping and things like that. Laundry room, I know a lot of folks have maybe a 2-story home or ranch or something, and maybe the laundry room's like all the way downstairs. Well, that is not convenient. Looking at places that have all of those amenities all on the same floor is going to be huge and really, help down the road as far as that goes. Open floor plans as well. If you think that there's going to be a chair or a walker in the future, making sure that the doorways are 36 inches wide, ADA compliant, those types of things. Maybe being able to, roll straight into a shower, which isn't necessarily super common, I guess, in a lot of places. But I think Lincoln has a really, really nice community of a lot of ground level units. So you have a lot of options as far as where in town you want to be, if you want to be close to family or friends or whatnot. A lot of those types of things. So open floor plan and ground level.
And what if they do want to stay in the house that they're in? What are some of those improvements that can actually increase the value of their home?
Yeah, and I'm sure, you and TJ are probably going to be a really good resource for that as well. But, I think adding grab bars all over the house is going to be different in a ground level, patio home compared to a second level with like kids all around in the neighborhood. It's kind of like, where are you and what kind of makes the most sense. If you're in a patio home, it's really, really nice to have grab bars because resale thought is the next person buying it is probably going to be in the same situation, so those grab bars are going to be looked at differently than if, you have a young family coming in and things like that. So the resale is going to be something that you want to keep in mind, obviously. As far as the rest of the quality goes, you can never really go wrong with wider doors, and if you're putting a ramp on, just make sure that it can be taken off. You don't want to put anything that's permanent that's going to affect resale and what you're going to do the next step.
Okay, great. And there are lots of, did you have a question?
I do, I'm sorry. My bathroom is down the hall.
Okay.
That door, I know is not 36 inches wide. So it would have to be increased to be 36 inches. Is that what you're telling me for a wheelchair?
Yeah, ADA is 36 inches. Yep.
You want to repeat that question?
Oh, I'm sorry, she's asking, she's got a hallway, and there's a door down the hallway going into the restroom that's not 36 inches wide. Yeah, so you're asking like how would that work?
And if you're going down the hall, 36 inches, why do you have to turn the corner and get in?
That's a good question. I don't get into a lot of all of the specifics on ADA. I know the doorways are supposed to be 36, so I assume they figure if there's 36 on both sides, there's enough room, to turn around and things like that.
Well, and to get through them with a walker. You have a
Yeah.
walker and you have your hands on the sides.
Yeah.
We see lots of busted up knuckles, don't we?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it just kind of depends, all houses are different, so it would just kind of have somebody coming through and looking at it to see what the options are and, what kind of modifications you can do. Hallways are different because there's a lot of load-bearing walls and things like that. So, there are going to be some instances where there's not a lot of options, that are reasonably priced.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Of course.
Val, I have a question for you. What would you suggest, and how do you counsel people when they have, when they live out of town and they are taking care of their family members, and how do they make sure that that communication happens between the parent that they're taking care of, or their family member or friend that they're taking care of, you and the person who's in charge of getting that all together? How does that happen?
I want to add something to this last question about your question with the ADA compliance. So I just want to throw this in here real quick. Occupational therapy is a really useful tool if you ever have somebody in your home. Occupational therapists can help you navigate your home, figure out what the safety issues might be, path of travel, rugs, oxygen tubing, things that are not safe, not wide enough. And so in my experience, an occupational therapist is a really great resource for trying to find accommodations that get you around your home safely depending on your limitations. So just sharing that as a kind of a plug. I might throw this one to Kim. Kim, do you have any insight or suggestions on she communicates with our clients and our family members on a regular basis. I wonder if you want to chime in on how you navigate things with challenges with people out of state or people who don't live locally.
Just communication again. We just, if the family members are asking questions and, if family members are asking questions and things like that, then, I do my best to just visit with them about it. If they're needing something specific, I just try and find out what I can for them. Whether it be if they need something for the bathroom or if they need some more help or anything like that. I'm always on my phone. I'm always calling them, they're always calling me, so.
She's always available for questions and calls, and that's the way we approach it, is we invite people to participate. I remember this Cheryl that I mentioned earlier, her children lived out of town. We're in town helping their mom prepare for a recovery from an illness, injury, and they arranged for us to come in and do the assessment, and Kim was communicating through the family as well. So there's nothing special. We do have some technology that people can access their loved one's plan of care if they'd like to see our last visit or any notes regarding their plan of care, and that's kind of what we do when we come in, do an assessment. Basically what is an introductory meeting is going to your home, making sure that your home is suitable and safe. And then we write down in the computer, we have a computer system that identifies what that individual's needs are, and that family member can access that if they'd like to see that.
And if anybody is interested in some of those things that you can do for aging in place, we're with the Nebraska Real Estate Specialty Group, and we have an assessment that we can come over, and we have a checklist, and we can kind of go through your house and go through each room and kind of help you and guide you along that way too, if anybody's wanting something like that. It's a free service. Let's see, I do have a question for Natalia. Can downsizing or selling your home be part of Smart Care strategy?
Absolutely,
Part of the plan?
absolutely it can. Sometimes, and I would say maybe more times than not, the home is one of the biggest assets that our clients have in their entire portfolio. And although we don't consider it a liquid asset, we can't turn that house or sell that house for cash within the next 48 hours. That's what we would call a liquid asset versus 401k accounts, brokerage accounts, investment accounts, things like that. But it can absolutely play a very crucial part in the financial planning strategy while you're aging in place. So whether that is you downsize or right size to a smaller place, some of these homes that we've been living in them for 30, 40 years. There's 5 bedrooms, 3 baths with the increased, home values. There's a lot of value in those homes, especially when you go to sell in this type of a market. So we definitely talk with our clients about what options they do have when they do look to go sell a home. I don't necessarily help them make that decision. We have to lay out the options for our clients in terms of, this is how it looks like for you to stay in your home. If we work with a realtor and we can get an approximate value of the home and how much you could walk away with, are you going to take those proceeds and invest them? Or are you going to take those proceeds and put them into a new smaller property that's also paid off? Those are discussions that we can have, but it can absolutely play a very crucial part, especially when we're kind of moving into a society where employers aren't offering pensions anymore. It's as if we're having to self-fund our own retirement planning on top of Social Security. And so to have the home at the very end, the point in life where we're making these financial decisions, it can really prove to be a very valuable asset if the home is paid off or nearly paid off, things of that nature. So it is definitely something that we talk at length with our clients about when they are ready to make that decision.
Go ahead.
And just one thing I wanted to add, because we have run into this, where that individual maybe did some really great financial planning, they saved, they did all the things, they maybe have farmland, they have a home that they've paid the mortgage off on, but they don't really have any liquid assets. They just have fixed assets. But now we're in an emergency situation, whether that's a hospital or a rehabilitation, that team has determined they are not able to go home and remain safe. Now we're looking at an entirely different thing. We have a financial process, because you can't take a home that you've lived in for 40 years, get it ready to put on the market, get it on the market, sell it, close on it, take the resources in 7 days.
And if they offer that to you, beware, let me tell you.
Thank you.
They will tell you it can happen. It's not gonna be pretty for you.
The ones who come in and say, I'll pay cash for your home and all of that, do not. Please do not. Especially if it's under market value, you're creating a whole other headache for yourself. But in an emergency situation, we're able to come in and say, okay, if that is the only asset you have, that equity in that home, that is the thing that is going to pay for your care, then we have a tool, a financial way that we can get. It's kind of like a bridge loan is what I call it. But that money can be at wherever you're going within like a day. So that first month or whatever it is that is needed financially, it's all based upon whatever the market value is of the home, but it allows your family time to get that house ready to put on the market. And in that conversation, we're connecting, that family with, do you have a realtor? Do you need a realtor? Here's your realtor. So in an emergency situation, there's a way to do it. So I really appreciate Natalia bringing that up, because sometimes that is the only asset that people have.
What AJ mentioned earlier, crisis mode is not a good time to be making decisions. If you can avoid making a decision in those emergency type situations, the only way to do that is if you've pre-planned, if you're proactive in your planning. Once there's an emergency type of situation, it is, in that instance, it may be really too late to develop a smart plan. There might be, a fire sale of property. There might be things that have to be sold that you didn't want to have sold. There's just a slew of things that can go wrong if you have to make those decisions in an emergency type of situation. So again, my biggest role as an advisor is risk mitigation, is helping us address what could potentially go wrong. I do have to be a bit of a negative person sometimes, because sometimes we don't want to acknowledge that bad things could happen. We don't want to admit that, someone could have a fall and end up in long-term care for the rest of their lives. And I know that's hard for me to say out loud and for people to grasp that, but my mom is a direct example of this. She was 52 when she had her fall, very healthy. I mean, she could beat me in a foot race probably up until that year. I mean, she was very in shape. So my point is not to ever scare people, but my point is really to stress the importance of getting a plan together. The planning process can be manageable with the right type of advisors, with the right lawyers, CPAs, and in-home care specialists. Start building that network of people that you trust around you, so when those types of situations do come up, we're focused just on the emotional side, not the emotional and the logistics side now.
And just to talk about Aging in Place, our team has started the very first chapter of the National Aging in Place Council. And we are going to be given some workshops, the National Nebraska chapter is, workshops on aging in place, and has questions for you, and will help you develop your plan. So stay tuned for that. We're just going to go and, we skipped some of our questions because there's just so much that we can pack into this time. But I'm just going to go down the line here, and I'm going to start with you, Tanya, since you have the mic. What are a few questions that every family should ask when choosing a senior living community? Or what is one thing that you just want to make sure that everybody knows, or that you wish more families knew about?
As far as when there is a need for assisted living, it's a matter of just asking things like, let me back that up. One thing that people don't realize is that assisted living, if that is the need, like none of us, not one person who's ever called me has woken up that morning and said, you know what I want to do today? I want to go to assisted living. So I'm gonna give them a call. It's because life has intervened. I had a great conversation with those lovely ladies on our break, because we just can't control that piece of it. So it's about asking the questions regarding that assisted living, because not one of them are the same. People do not realize that those levels of care vary so widely within assisted living. A lot of our case managers, discharge planners, care managers, they'll call us and they'll be like, okay, well, this person needs to go to a nursing home. Oh, okay. All right, well, talk to us about those care needs. What do we have? Well, they need medication management. Uh-huh. And? That's all. That's it. They need to go to long-term care. No. All assisted livings can help you with medication management. Most of the people that we talk to don't realize that if you have mobility limitations within the assisted living, they'll just come get you and help you get to wherever you want to get. It's not a big deal. It's not a barrier. Some of these places, if you are what they call a 2 assist, it takes 2 people to transfer you out of bed, into the shower, onto the toilet, whatever it is that's going on in your world at that time. There are assisted livings that can do that for you. A lot of our discharge planning, they're not there yet, and so they're just long-term care. It's good to just have that conversation, and so I am answering that question eventually here, but it's about having that conversation with that family at that time and saying, this is not a barrier. We have lots and lots of options, and as we are going to these places, we're coaching that family. We're telling them, ask about that level of care. Ask how the meds are managed. Ask about how meals are provided. Ask about activities. Ask about transportation. All of those things, but also keep this and this open when you are in there. Are you seeing the staff interact with the residents? Are the residents interacting with each other? Is everybody smiling? Do they know each other's names? Is it clean? Is it bright?
How does it smell?
Does it smell good? Because 8.75 out of 10 people that I work with think nursing home, and I think we all know what we're thinking when we hear that, right? Because we all had an experience with it, with a parent or a grandparent. And so it's about getting around that and understanding that that landscape, thank goodness, looks entirely different now.
Okay. Natalia, what's one piece of financial advice you wish every adult over the age of 55 would take action on today?
Just like the others have mentioned, you're allowed to talk to different advisors and see who's the best fit for you. There are some advisors that do specialize and really do lean more towards the senior community, and they understand things like Medicaid spend down or what happens in terms of a long-term care event. So do some research. You know, if you've got adult children that you know that have used an advisor in the past, ask how you like them, ask how they've done with their planning. I would make sure that if you have an advisor that you work with and they've only done insurance for you, they may not be coming up with an actual financial plan for you. Nothing wrong with what they're doing, but if there's a plan that needs to be put in place, they're probably not going to be the ones that are going to do that for you. So I would really take to heart finding someone that you do trust. I'm never going to compare myself to a doctor or a lawyer, but you have to be able to talk to your financial person open and honestly about where you are financially. I can only advise to the best of my ability based on the information I receive from you. If I can't get full disclosures from you or full truths from you about where you are, what you're concerned about, what your goals are, I can't do a super great job. But if you do find a person where you know, they have that empathetic touch, they understand where you're coming from, they really focus on the senior community, I would really highly encourage that as being a first step into making sure that you don't outlive your money, or that you do downsize at the appropriate time, or that you're able to, you know, gift a legacy if that's what you'd like to do, and making sure you work with someone that can do that properly for you.
Okay. Well, hold your questions. We're going to have questions and answers just a second. Val, what piece of advice would you like to give everybody out here today about looking for home care in your home?
Like, I kind of want to echo a conversation I had over the break, which was, we talked a little bit about our parents and how our, you know, as a child, we didn't know all the medical things that were going on with our parents and getting to know. So I guess this is just a piece of advice is if you have that information written down, it's nice to share that with a loved one or someone you trust so they have that information. We talked about, I think it was your mother you said that was on the way to the hospital and they were asking questions about her medical history and his stepdad wasn't sure how to answer the questions and he didn't have the answers as well. And so it's good to know, it's good to be vulnerable, it's a strength. I mean, sharing your information is helpful for you at the end of the day, being honest with your needs and talking about the what if situations. And so if I can roll that into home care services, it is being vulnerable and real with what your needs are and finding the right fit, finding that empathy, finding somebody you can connect with, asking the questions, what if somebody isn't going to come do my home care, then what's the backup plan? And I'll share this with you as well. If you're looking at home care services, There are companies that do what we call a registry service, so you could get a list of providers who do the services that we provide, or you can work with an agency, which is what we are. Agencies will have multiple providers that can be a backup to you if someone's on vacation, someone can't do that shift. If you go with a registry, you might hire an individual, and that individual is your employee that you pay directly. And if they're not able to fulfill that need, or if they're not somebody that's working out for you, you're left looking at someone else. So it's sort of like you're left in the lurch a little bit if you don't have a backup plan with that type of a service. So there are some variations with home care. So getting educated, meeting with more than one, I encourage that. So you can see what the differences are, what kind of services they offer, what the rates are like, what the people are like. So I would encourage that.
Okay, great. AJ, anything that you would like to add about getting your home ready as you age in place? Modification.
Yeah, I think just kind of knowing that there's a lot of inexpensive options out there to make kind of those small differences. Grab bars are not expensive. They're not hard to put in. You know, lighting is pretty inexpensive as well. There's a lot of those types of things out there that we can do quickly, relatively painlessly. I would also say, you know, bringing in somebody that's maybe hasn't been into your home before can maybe bring stuff up to you that maybe you've just kind of, you know, gotten used to. Like you're used to that table that's in the hallway, or you're used to, you know, the really low light in your kitchen and things like that, that somebody that's looking at it with fresh eyes can maybe come in and say like, yeah, you know, let's try some different bulbs, or let's try a lighting fixture that maybe points light down instead of up, or whatever. You know, there's a lot of different things like that that you might just be used to that might make a big difference. It's easy to accomplish.
Okay, great. Well, now this comes to fun time here, the time where we're gonna do our door prizes. So if we want to get our educational partners in here, and we can show you what we have for door prizes. And while everybody's getting that ready, just want to let you know, in August, we are doing, what's the name of our seminar? Can anybody tell me? It's on your table.
Civil legacy, not a mess.
Yes, it's going to be all about wills and trusts, and we're going to have an attorney on our panel, and it should be a really good one. Oh, yeah, questions. Okay, real quick. We have about 5 minutes for questions. Who has questions? We're going to get a mic out here.
I don't even need a mic, TJ. I'm sure you do. So, a year ago, my husband passed away. And so it's great to listen to all what you're talking about, but one partner doesn't cooperate, and he had incurable cancer for 3 years. So the good thing I did love that each of you emphasized communications. So we communicated it, and he was willing, ready, willing, and able, luckily, because we downsized 5 years ago before he was ill. Hallelujah. But when it came to questions about his health and hospice, etc., my daughter was begging him to tell us. No, he was going to live forever as far as he was concerned, and he was just that personality. So communications is really great, and the other thing I suggest is I've got some of my bank accounts are joint with a child that I trust. You know, she's not going to touch anything until I'm ready to, but I need that because I'm by myself. And again, about children, I have 2 kids, a son and a daughter. My son is married to, and he was military. He's no longer military, but he was deployed so much. So what happens if something happens to me? He's in Afghanistan. That doesn't help me. My daughter also works in Egypt, so that doesn't help me either. But we've got great communication, so I've got some local friends. But some of the things, I really value what you said, and a lot of it I've lived through, so thank you for your input. That was great. But yeah, sorry, back to my whole point about spouses. If they won't at least say what they want to do, like my husband did say he had one short term in a recuperating in a facility, and he said, I never want to go back to that place. And I wrote a 5-page letter to the administrator, so I didn't ever want him to go back to that place. But if they won't say specifically, at least hopefully you have cooperation with them. So my husband told all of his providers they could talk to me about anything. I could make any decisions, and I did have the power of attorney for health care, but he was still cognitively functioning perfectly. But he said, whatever you tell me, you can tell Betty, or you can ask her, she makes decisions for me, and so that was how we handled it.
Any other questions?
How much money is money?
Repeat the question. Repeat the question.
How much money is too much?
How much money is enough money?
How much money is enough money? Well,
10 million.
well, I don't know if we have enough time for that. No, I'm just kidding. That's a great question, and it so depends. It depends on what your living expenses are. It depends how long you're gonna live, which unfortunately none of us know that answer. So again, to my previous comment, the best planning I can do is with the current information that we have when talking with our clients. We have advanced financial planning software where we can run stress tests about different types of situations. So if you have a long-term care event, if you end up living in a facility that's, $5,000 versus having a paid off mortgage, if you want to travel for the first 5 years in retirement and then kind of slow down the monthly expenses. Those stress tests are able to shed a little bit of light on what we do need. Years ago, the magic number seemed to be 1 million. Retire with $1 million, take your 4% withdrawals, and you should be good to go, right? That has changed. Some people, it may be almost too much. They don't need quite that much money in retirement. For some others, it absolutely will not be enough, and we're going to be running into issues by the time they're in their mid-70s. So the answer really is, unfortunately, it depends. And working with a planner can at least address some of those different types of situations that you may run into to make sure that your accounts can handle any type of those life events. That's a very hard question.
When you come and help us decide what we need, that sort of thing, everything, whatever, does that mean that you could also get someone that would help clean house or what meals or whatever we need? And if so, do you have enough people to keep doing that, or would we have to be on a kind of a wait list?
So when we go to your home and we talk to you about your needs, her question was, do you help us with your needs in home, and how do you have enough staff, and how do you plan on that? It's always evolving. We're always playing a game of, do we have enough caregivers for the clients that we have? Because clients don't always stay on service. Things change in their lives. They end up passing away, going to assisted living or skilled nursing services. And if they're maybe temporarily on services for an illness or injury, let's say a recovery from surgery, they'll not need our services forever. So we are constantly playing that game. We're always looking for providers. We love matching people who have a need, a caregiving need, or a caregiving heart, let's say, who love to do that. And a lot of our caregivers say it's not like work for us. We enjoy, they build relationships. And the story I told earlier about my parents, my mom and Haley, our caregiver, I think my mom loves her, seeing her more than me sometimes. I think, geez, Mom, wow. So, it is a constant shuffle. To answer your question, we do help make recommendations based on things we've seen, try to help you plan for your needs. But we always do try to have a backup caregiver available for those vacations, for those needs. And Kim actually does cares herself if somebody calls in. So Kim is seeing a lot of our clients doing the cares. And that's why we have an agency backup. We have somebody there to cover those needs.
Any other questions? Okay.
Should I have Kim, sorry, introduce yourself and give her out? Is she going first, Kim?
Yeah, just in a second here. So we talked a lot today about planning and aging in place, and all these people here have great information and are willing to share it with you, and all of them do free in-home consultations as well. So I do encourage you to seek some professional advice, and everybody has a different situation, and so we had to kind of speak in general terms today. But if you're dealing with some of these, talk to some of these people, because they can talk to you more specifically about your own unique needs. And just request a consultation with one of them. We do have our downsizing club, and we have information on that on the table out there. And we have all the evaluations. Oh, and one thing I do want to add, we're talking about being prepared and having a plan. We are actually, our team is developing a legacy kit, and we're going to be doing some workshops to help you get that legacy kit so that you have a plan in place and that your family members know what your plan is, or just even emergency personnel who might come to your home will know what your plan is. So, yeah, Sharon, oh yes, Sharon. Oh, we'll do that right afterwards. One more reminder. After this, we're gonna give everybody who, think about it, you brought a friend today, okay? So, we're gonna did you have a question?
No, I have a comment. I went through this with my parents, and one thing you didn't mention, I went through this with my parents, and believe me, it wasn't easy. The one thing you didn't mention was about people having a lifeline. And when my mother fell, and she was 88, did break a bone, very determined to stay at home, her doctor had a list of what we should do. And the top of the list was get a lifeline. And then the second was Meals on Wheels. And it goes on the financial and other things. But I was kind of surprised you didn't mention that, because most small towns have a nursing home where they can have Meals on Wheels. And Lifeline, that might be 30 miles away, but still a hospital's available.
Yeah, and there are a lot of great senior centers, even in small communities, that do meals, and some of them actually do delivering, kind of Meals on Wheels type of thing there too. So that's a good point. Okay, so we're going to have some friends made today.
Drawing?
Yeah, we're gonna have a drawing here. We're gonna put them out like this. And the first one that we have Kelsey with Oasis, and first we have Kim. You look like somebody on the panel there. You just look so official.
Should I sit down
So,
and start talking all over again?
These are our educational partners. These are people that we rely on to help us provide our educational programs. And they have been vetted by us. If they aren't good and reputable, they don't get to come here. So we only want the best of the best to be helping our seniors. So we just want to give them the time to tell who they are, what they do, and what kind of door prize they have.
All right, I'm Kim Nesha, I'm with Caring Friends, and we provide in-home care. Just like this lady just asked, I have a lot of my clients that do have the Lifeline, and they tell me that. And they have Meals on Wheels or Mom's Foods or something like that. So we do provide a lot of the in-home, the bathing, the helping them clean in their home, things like that. So if you want to talk to me out there afterwards, I'd be glad to talk to you. And I do have a cake here. You know, you're going into the holiday weekend, so you are having family, I'm sure. So there you go. You don't have to bake.
Hello, I'm Kelsey Hutchison with Oasis Senior Advisors, and I get the privilege to work with Tanya Godwin every day of the week, and it's a dream. We are a team of two, and we are a free service that helps seniors and their families navigate what senior living looks like, what it sounds like, sometimes what it smells like. Whatever questions you have, we're here to help guide you and create a plan. If that's to stay at home, we'll connect you with companion cares, give you a realistic landscape of what that costs, what that looks like, what's available in service, or if you need home medical care, you know, PT, OT in the home. I know we talked a lot about that. How do you get it? We can help you kind of sort that out or start that conversation with your doctor if that's something that you would like to do. But yeah, so I brought a movie basket with a $25 gift card to Marcus Theaters. So if you have grandkids coming to town this weekend or neighbor kids that help you, maybe that would be a nice gift. Or if you want to go out with a few friends, see a movie.
Hi, my name is Reagan Bobrel. I'm with the Alzheimer's Association here in Nebraska. With the association, we provide free education, free support groups. We can come to any of your community organizations that you have, and we would love to come and talk to you about the 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's or any other, well, okay, let's pretend I'm starting over, guys, okay? No, we can come to your organization, and we can give healthy heart, healthy living brain education, and we would just love to come help you. So, and here in my basket, I have a kind of a 4th of July party starter with chip and dip and all the fun stuff.
Good morning. I'm Jose with Archwell. We are a primary doctor in office here in town on 40th and O. We're about 4 months new here in town, so if you have any questions, I'll be here at the table. But today we put down an Easter basket for the 4th of July. We have some drinks, sunscreen, snacks, anything to get the party going. At the bottom, we have a bottle of tequila. No, I'm kidding. But yes, there it is.
Good morning, I'm Danielle Kanipe. I own a New Dawn Insurance, here to help you with any insurance needs that you have, helping you to navigate and educate so that you can feel confident making the best choice for you. I do not have a lovely gift basket, but if you want a cup of coffee and a Miller and Pain cinnamon roll from Breda, it is on the gift card today.
I'm AJ with Lucky Dog Property Solutions. I appreciate everybody's patience with my answers this morning. If I make it on the panel again, I promise that I will be prepared with more information. Yeah, we do small home repairs, handyman services, odd jobs, things like that. So this week we're putting together a play set for a family, fixing some cabinets, doing a backsplash in a kitchen. So all across the board, lots of different things. Just give me a call and we'll see if we can help you out. I have farm fresh eggs again since it was popular last week. So I've got 18 eggs and chocolate box. I do not recommend eating them together, but whatever you want to do.
I'm Doug McCallum, and I'm in charge of senior ministries. Thank you all for coming. If you have any concerns about St. Mark's or anything that you want to share, I'm available to talk about it. We have a 56 passenger bus that we take a trip every month, and this month we're going to Jocelyn Castle. So if you're interested in traveling with us every month, we go someplace, we'd love to have you travel with us on our bus. All right. Thank you.
Okay, who brought a friend that has never been here before? Judy has one. We got several hands. So we appreciate you sharing Savvy Seniors with your friends and your family and telling people about it. And these are just little tokens of our appreciation. We want to give a really big hand to our panelists here. Oh, did you have a question? Oh, she brought, yeah, oh, she brought grass, yay, okay. So let's give a really big hand to our panelists. AJ, you did a great job. I shouldn't have even told him you were filling in because he would have been just fine. And a great big hand to our educational partners who help us put on these things. Thank you so much. Let's see. Remember to leave your name tags, and there's a sheet that you have for takeaways, anything that you want to write down, people that you want to meet, or things that you want to do. Make sure you look at those. Thank you, St. Mark's, for letting us be here, and leave us a review on Google or on your evaluation. And if anybody would like to give us a live review, we have a camera right here. We'd like to put those on our new website that we're developing in our Facebook pages. Encourage other people to come. So we'd love that if you would do that for us. So thanks so much for coming, and we hope you guys got some really good advice and some things for you to ponder and think about and maybe start your plan. Thanks for coming today. I take them all home with me. Darn it. Okay. Now, choose the first one. Whoever gets this gets the cake from Caring Friends. Joan. Where's Joan? Is she still here? Joan, are you still here?
I think she was at our table, I think she left.
She left. Okay, choose another one. You have to be present to win.
Betty?
Oh, Betty! Welcome back, Betty, with a cake. Okay, Natalie, Natalia.
There you go.
Natalia gets the movie box from Oasis.
Karen Bilene.
Karen? Are you here, Karen Bilene? Okay. All right. And Tanya gets to draw the one from the Alzheimer's Association, the 4th of July basket.
Clarice? Freeman?
Clarice? Okay, come on. Okay, and we have the cooler of goodies from Archwell.
Cora? Tweedy?
Cora. Yay. Okay, and who gets the gift card for coffee?
Ruth DeGarms?
Ruth DeGarmo. Okay. And who gets the fresh eggs and the chocolates from Lucky Dog?
Tina Blessing.
Tina Blessing. Tina.
Where is it from?
Okay, thank you all so much for coming today.
I know.
And now your luck ran out.
I know.
Yes.